Hi, everyone. Welcome to Entrepreneurship by Design with Dr. C. I'm so glad you're here today because I have an incredible guest with us, Jeffery Davis. Jeffery is a former high-performing corporate executive turned entrepreneur. He is all too familiar with burnout and knows what is necessary to change internal operating systems to thrive, not just survive. He helps entrepreneurs and professionals go from frenzied to focus so they no longer have to cash in their health, relationships, and fulfillment to pay the bill for their success. He's committed to helping people transmute the experience of burnout to brilliance and from hustle culture to high performance. Thank you so much for being here today, Jeffery. It is such an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I would love for you to just dive into your journey, how you got here today, and then we can go a little bit deeper.
I originally started in, thematically. Let's do it thematically. So the theme of every piece or every project that I've done, every career that I've stepped into has been human behavior, the human story, and the resilience of the human spirit. And I've examined it from several angles. The first step that I made was into corporate and advertising, working with media and influencing behavior and with marketing and media messages and getting people to buy things that they didn't need effectively and spending millions and millions of dollars of clients' money because we were one of the top ad agencies in the world, Ogilvy and Mather. And so we based their media buys on research that showed 3 or more ads from TV. So we're talking 90 seconds of exposure. 3 or more ads was an effective frequency, meaning you were starting to impact somebody's beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. So just to repeat that, 90 seconds of a commercial starts to impact beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. And people are watching TV and watching things all the time. And that's why I believe, funny enough, when you're watching social media, it's called a news feed. So you're literally ingesting information and people around you. So it was really an interesting experience looking at human behavior from influencing it and working with the subconscious, but really not knowing that at the time. And then going from there I went from there into acting. And when I stepped into acting, I stepped into it because it was an experience in understanding and really relating and creating stories from human behavior and the human spirit and really stepping into that. And it's a great exercise in building empathy because you step into a character, no matter what they are, who they are, and you don't judge them because you're not outside of them. I mean, they may have judgments if that's part of the character's traits and characteristics and possibly why they're behaving the way they are, because sometimes bad behavior is created by unexamined and shadows, things that we won't look at, that just we can't hold it back. It's energy, so it'll come out one way or the other, either consciously or subconsciously, in attitudes and behaviors. So that was fascinating. And I took a little bit of a turn from there. And then I started coaching. I started going from being a one-person business, being the business and acting, to building a business, working with people as a coach, and working with them around things that I understood around tapping into the power of the human spirit, helping people manage their time and energy in a way that they became super efficient with flow, and also operating in a way that they were not in hustle culture, but they were in high performance culture. 2 totally different things. It's not about how long you work, it's about the quality of the work that you do. So helping them up level that without having to pay the bills for success and for building a business with costs of mental and physical health and relationships that are falling apart. So one of the reasons that I stepped into coaching for that is because I needed it. I needed it much earlier in my corporate world and my startup, before I went into some of the startups that I worked at, before I went into acting. It would have helped me a lot. And the the work is amazing. It's a mix of a bunch of different things that I help people with, which is looking at not what are you doing, that's a piece of it, but really who are you being? And from there, sustainable, long-lasting, efficient changes in how you work and how you behave and how people relate to you happen. So that's what I'm doing now. And it's a blast.
It seems like it. And it's amazing what you have been able to accomplish. And I have such a soft spot for like psychology, just being a former therapist myself, but really understanding the subconscious and how you started in the ad arena as well, and just moved your way through acting and now coaching. But all those pieces really came together to really help individuals of what you were filling a need that you might have needed years ago, but now being able to help others be able to really remove that hustle culture, because it's such a phrase that's thrown around a lot. And I'm so curious with your approach, how do you approach helping entrepreneurs transition from the state of burnout into a state of high performance?
Well, there's a couple things. One is, first and foremost, the resources that you have that are finite are energy, time, and money. You can become more efficient with them and generate more of it, right? When you're more efficient with your time, you generate more time. And that requires a different level of thinking, because we're at where we are in business, in our life, in relationships and everything based on how we're thinking and who we're being. So for us to think that we don't need to change us in order to go to the next level, that's disputing and arguing with one of the smartest people on the planet at the time, Einstein, who said you can't solve a problem from the same mindset that created it. Now, from the outside, people may look and say, oh, these are successful people, and they are, but they're right. Everybody has problems at every level, right? And the level is not a piece of judgment. Let's call it revenue level. Let's call it, whatever you want to call it. But there's an evolution that's necessary, and can't do that by ourselves. To be honest with you, it's impossible to do the work that needs to be done by ourselves. So it's necessary to, if you want to move rapidly, to learn from others and to talk to people who have done that before, and to get the tools, the techniques, the ways of thinking, the ways of operating, because there are distinctly different ways of thinking that generate $100,000 of business a year than there are that generate $3 million of business a year. So to think that you can just kind of continue to do the same things at 100 that will generate 3 million, I think is a pretty rare percentage, and you're already working uphill as an entrepreneur, because so many small businesses fail. They run out of energy, time, or money. And so when you have an opportunity to shift that so that it's in your advantage, then to me, it's a no-brainer. I got to a place where I was doing quite well in business, but the issue was I wasn't ready to be that person. And I started burning out, because I have a theory. My theory is there's who we are, which is one's, let's just call it straight line, right? That's alignment. And then who we're being. And the further out of alignment that we are. So I believe that most people are inherently good. Most people have the opportunity to be healthy. Most people have the opportunity to be wealthy on many levels, and that's inherent inside of us and how we can operate. And if we don't believe that, then it's how can you create from something that you don't believe is possible, right? So the further away that we are, if we're operating from external values, what society says that we need to be or do or have, and that gap between who we actually are and what we're starting to do, that fills in with energy. And that energy is burnout, stress, overwhelm. The more in line you are, the more opportunity that you have to move fast. to move in flow, to increase your performance, to operate at a place of passion and purpose, which is super important. At the end of the day, I believe the hardest question that people avoid or don't really know the answer to, but it's the simplest question, which is, who are you and what are you here to do? And most of the time the answer is I'm a dad or I'm an accountant or something like that. And we're not our responsibilities. We're not our feelings. We're not our title or the industry that we're in. That's not who we are. That's responsibility, title, how we're feeling, things like that. So the question is, who are we and what are we here to do? What's our legacy? It's not, oh, I went on this vacation or I had this house. So it involves some thinking and involves some work. And from that, you can really start to move with passion and purpose.
Absolutely. And you're right. That's a question we don't really ask ourselves, of just what is who we are and what is our purpose? What are we here to do? Because you're right. A lot of times when people introduce themselves, they say their title, they say like what they do in this world. They're a mom, a dad, a sister, brother, grandparent, whatever it may be, but all the different capacities versus who we are. So my question to you is, who are you and what is your purpose?
Right, because what's interesting is when you have an identity tied to doing something or being something for somebody else, then you have what happens so many times with divorce or with job loss. You have a disconnection from that identity, and you have people go into depression and confusion about who they are, and even health issues, because when you operate at one level in your life, one level of thinking, you and every level, we create chemistry in our bodies, right? Whether it's serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, whatever it happens to be, our bodies are constantly creating things based on how we feel and what we think and then feel. So it's important for us to really operate from a place that is choice and is, I hate to say this, but I'll just say a high vibe, a place that feels good, because it feels good in our body, because actually our body enjoys it. Our body doesn't enjoy feeling anger. Right? There actually is a recovery time of quite a few hours. If you're really angry and you break into rage, it takes your body time to cool down, time to process the intensity of that emotion.
That makes sense. That does. And because you've had a lot of success with your clients in all capacities, I would love for you to share maybe one or two client success stories of someone you've helped go from that state of overwhelm or burnout to achieving that high performance.
Sure. I had a client who came to me, and he had, similar to what I was saying, he had gotten laid off from his job that he'd been in for close to 20 years at the same company. And so his identity was tied into the job, tied into his performance at the job, and to have gotten fired and pushed out was devastating. He felt betrayed, he felt lost, he felt low self-esteem, and it was impacting his health, it was impacting his relationship with his family. And so we did this process that I work with people on, and it was really about reconnecting, reigniting his legacy, and also working with mindset, embodiment practices, and habit stacking in such a way that literally his days changed, how he was thinking changed, his relationship with his wife became the most amazing relationship he's had, and he was loving his kids. And so he ended up in what he called his perfect job, where he could bike to work. He was working with a company that was doing something he felt really aligned with. He felt needed and wanted, and he also felt solid in himself. So had he lost that job, he would have felt complete, and he would have had information to take to the next job, because we'd even shifted how he looked at loss, the grief, the integration of grief. And so it built up resilience in him, which is the number one trait of successful entrepreneurs.
That's true. I appreciate you sharing that story. And it's amazing how things can shift and just how you approach anything of how you view it, what you've thought about it before, especially investing like this individual 20 years into a company and then having that significant loss, but how that really impacted everything around him, his environment, his relationship with his wife, his children, but being able to flip that script and reframe it and being able to have a job where he could bike and have more time for his kids and that relationship. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I truly, and maybe you do too as well, value relationships so much in just being able to show up, but even how we feel about things can impact it. Just like what you were mentioning earlier with the anger, your body feels that, and you do need that time to regroup. And just even with loss too, it's can be very messy. It's never the same, no matter what it is, because sometimes a lot of, from what I've heard, individuals, when they're more on the aspect of grief and loss, it's an individual. When it can be a job, a type of relationship you had, doesn't mean the person's gone or the job's gone. It just has shifted. So I think it can have so many different meanings as well. But I appreciate what you were able to help your client with too in that process of getting them onto the other side and feeling better. And that's what it's about. You want to feel good. Your body wants to feel good, and being aligned with what you're doing as well. And with your journey, I would love to know, because I'm sure there's been some ups and downs, maybe not a lot, maybe a few. What have been some of the obstacles you've had to overcome in building your coaching business?
Well, it's been interesting. So it's consistently up leveling how I'm thinking and surrounding myself with people who are at the next level of what I'm thinking. And also there's a lot to do and a little of me. So that's been a challenge, especially when learning new things like automation and systemizing processes and integrating all of that. So that's been, the learning process of, well, it's even the same thing with the coaching that I do. So learning how to be efficient is where it feels the most inefficient. Right. So you're operating one way, which is overwhelm, and then you tack on this new way of being, this new, let's just say it's an operating system, a new technology, right? It's a new technology internal, but I'm dealing with external technologies. So learning that slows me down from doing all the stuff that I'm overwhelmed from doing also, until I learn it and integrate it, and then I shoot ahead twice as fast. But there's that initial learning and integration process that's a little clunky.
Yeah, I believe that. And I've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, because you do really focus on overcoming the burnout and helping people move into that high performance. What are some things that you can do to prevent burnout? Because I know my story personally, I experienced significant burnout when I left the psychology field. And I have cycles of burnout, but I catch it really quick before it becomes this major cycle. What are some things that people can look for if they're starting to experience burnout, or how to prevent it?
Sure. Well, there's several things. One is, first and foremost, how are you taking care of your body? So what are you putting in your body? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? Are you, running on caffeine all the time, which is going to crash? I mean, or are you, there's two of the simplest and most powerful biohacks, I'm a biohacker, I believe, are sleep and sun. Right? So sun actually energizes you. Sleep, of course, energizes you. Sun can boost your testosterone, which, will help you with your dopamine, your focus, your energy, and so many things. And then from that, movement of your body is important. So if you sit down all the time, all day long, then your energy becomes sedated and down. And most of the people who start to experience exhaustion and become tired, which is when you're in low resource moments for a long amount of time, that's when you're most susceptible to burnout. So low resource, I mean, by not eating properly, because if you're eating junk, that's not fuel. So you're missing resources, which is nutrition. If you're not taking care of your body, moving it somehow, and giving some some stressors to your body, I don't mean bad stressors, but physicality, then that's also an issue, right? So you need to be able to take care of your body so that your resources are there, and sleep, of course, right? So when you do that, then that's the physical part. And then the mental part is you need to also be able to take a little bit of time to disengage on a regular basis. You need to be able to tap into your body and listen to your body, because your body's telling you consistently what's happening. And here's the other important part is the more time that you do doing things that drain you, meaning they're misaligned, there are things that are obligatory and that you hate. I'm not saying that everything is peaches and cream, because it's not. And, you know, it's not, or we do a lot of things. And to be successful, you have to do things that you don't like to do. So I'm not saying just sit on the couch and eat bonbons. Not that people will enjoy that. I guess some people do. But what I'm saying is that you need to be aligned for the reason why you're doing what you're doing. There's so much everlasting fuel in the why if it is attached to something that really means something to you. For instance, I mean, your why can be the same fuel that's the kind of fuel that drives a mother when she picks up a car off of the baby, right? So it is a fuel that is literally takes you past a job and puts you into a mission and a purpose.
Right.
And that's where, again, at the beginning, I was talking about this difference between who you are, which is your mission and your purpose, and what you're doing. So if you know your mission and your purpose is to, making it up, write copy that helps people understand how they can be more healthy people. And that's your mission, and you love words and you love, you know, health, and you want to bring this to the world, and that's what you're here to do. And then instead you're doing accounting all day. And that's all you're doing. You're not doing anything aligned to this. Eventually that's going to start to feel draining, and that gap in there is going to be filled with stress, overwhelm, and burnout.
I love how you put that too, thinking about it. Individuals I've heard that now are entrepreneurs but left their full-time careers, and it can be scary. But when you are aligned, it's just, you feel the difference in your body. I know I feel the difference when I wake up every day. I'm excited to do everything I'm doing, and I have different passions, but they're all aligned with what I'm doing. And like, even talking to other individuals that are aligned, you feel the difference when you're talking them too. Like, you can see it sometimes, and I'm sure you see it very clearly with your clients. And I'm curious, what is the biggest challenge that your clients do have, in your opinion?
Well, most of the time, the success that they have is costing them first and foremost in relationships. And then that starts to create business issues and slow them down. So they experience a level of growth. They experienced either meteor growth, like a hockey stick, or steady growth. And they're starting to hit a place where things are not coming as quickly. And also they're running the same script and some issues in relationships. So they've got the business part at least partially dialed, but as you know, as an entrepreneur, if you have business issues, they're reflective of your personal issues. I mean, we are people, and so it's impossible to ignore that there's parts of us that we need to clean up so that we can clean up our business. So the biggest issue is personal, and then it starts to affect their mental health and then their physical health. Those are kind of the levels that I've experienced with clients that I work with.
I appreciate you sharing that, just so people can be aware if they are experiencing, where they can go and get the help they need. And with all of the whole journey you've been on, I'm so curious, what are maybe 2 or 3 tips you can give entrepreneurs?
First and foremost, make sure that you have a why that will, not literally, but to some degree, keep you up at night. There's a purpose that keeps you up, that becomes a problem that you feel aligned to solving, that you know you're the person to do it. Some part of that problem you can solve, and that humanity or the people that you're working with need.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you've got the energy, you've got the motivation, you will figure it out. And if you can't, which, you know, people use coaches along the way, you'll work with me or somebody else. It's important. So that's the first thing, is making sure that what you are working on, you're fully aligned with. It's energetic, not draining, because everything is either energetic or draining. That's it.
Right.
It may be subtle, and it may take a while for you to realize which one it is, but here's the answer. If you don't feel that it's energetic immediately, then it's draining. It will start to become draining. Either you'll notice it over time or immediately. There's no question, either you're excited about it or you're not. So that's the first thing. The second thing is start to listen to your body and take care of your body, because if your body's your avatar, is the vehicle that you're working around in this world, and you can't do, when you're stressed physically, you actually become dumber, you become more irritable, you make poorer decisions. So you'll need to actually redo those, fix those, or you cause problems because you start to wear yourself down. So it's super important to take care of your body. So take care of your why, which I consider, you know, kind of a core piece of what the entrepreneurial journey is. And number two, take care of your body. That's nutrition and that's fitness. Whatever your fitness is, even if it's just something as simple as the duality of every night after I eat dinner, before I go to bed, because make sure you don't eat dinner right before you go to bed. That's another part of it. But I'll go for a 45-minute or an hour walk. So that helps your digestion. It gets your body into a place where you're moving. And then it also gives you a place to detach where you can start to think differently, right? Because when not only will your body help you prepare and give you the vehicle and the fuel moving forwards, but that time allows you to check into what's going on inside and to find the answers, because we ultimately do know the answers. When we're confused or when we don't want to, sometimes we argue with ourselves, and that creates confusion. We know we should be doing something, but does it make sense? So those are the three things I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with all three of those things, because if you are not healthy, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't do all these amazing things in the world. And that's where it starts, from the inside out. And just the fact of the energy and really listening to that, because it will tell you. People sometimes, I say, suck the energy out of you like an energy vampire. But like, who, go ahead.
Legit.
Yeah, I've experienced a few in my time, but being able to recognize too, when you feel that energy, when it is uplifting, and you're right, you immediately feel it, versus this slow, drawn out aspect that you like it, but it's not lighting you up. It's not getting you up, especially in those hard times where you're like, why am I even doing this? But then you know why, because there's like things you're not going to like, and that's part of the process, but majority of it, like 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and to be honest with you, it's not like your competitors are not doing things that they don't like.
Yeah.
There's part of it. And you know, whether I don't know a lot of people that like, not that this is part of every entrepreneurial journey, but it's part of business, hiring and firing. I don't know a lot of people that like to fire people, and because it's unpleasant. And you know, I've had to do it in corporate. I've hired people in corporate and fired people in corporate. And there was an interesting quote by Ted Turner. He fired his son, but he did say something interesting. He said, "You know what? I've fired a lot of people, and here's the thing: they all have one thing in common. If I fire them that day, or if I give them a year before I let them go, all have the same thing in common. They all hate me." So it's, you know, it's not a pleasant person. It's not a pleasant experience. So, and as part of, you have to make difficult decisions sometimes, whether it's personnel, whatever it happens, whether it's your energy and your resources, whatever it is. So yeah, really paying attention to that, managing that is super important.
Absolutely. And it's part of the process, you said too. No matter what you're going through on the journey, there's going to be moments where you have to let go of something so something better can come in. You might not see it in that moment, but you know it doesn't feel right of maybe you having to let go of somebody or fire someone, or you have to make a pivot in your business, but it's for the overall good where it's going to get back into alignment because maybe it went out of alignment and now you need to bring it back, you know?
Right. Right.
Well, I've been so enjoying this conversation, Jeffrey, but where can people find you, use your services? We're going to link everything below, but if you could let us know too.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm on all the media, all the social medias, I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Jeffery Davis Coach. My website is Jeffery Davis Coach. If somebody would like to email me directly, I can give my email. My company is called Inspiring Breakthroughs. And so my email is jeffery@inspiring-breakthroughs.com. So I'm here for anybody that wants to chat. If anybody wants to contact me, I'm happy to offer a 1-hour coaching session. It's kind of a breakthrough session, and we'll go through what's going on. And if I can help you, I'll offer information. If not, then I have lots of resources I can steer you towards people and different other resources. So,
well, thank you for sharing that. That's quite a beautiful gift. And I just so appreciate you coming on today, sharing your journey with us, everything you're doing to really help individuals remove that burnout, have more high performance in their life and in their relationships and everything around them energetically wise. But thank you again for coming on today.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. What was the biggest takeaway from Jeffrey today? I'm sure he would love to see that comment, and we will see you on the next episode.